Hello guys, we are going to discuss about Ansible configuration and how to run some Ansible commands and Ansible playbooks going further in this series of sessions. This is I wanted to give some basic information about the Ansible configuration and how we are going to use that. So basically in Ansible configuration, we will have couple of files configured and it runs on our SSH port 22, so it doesn't require to install any type of packages or pack third party packages or all these products or all these things. So it doesn't require, it doesn't require any daemon or agent to run on any server which we wanted to access. It so basically works only with the SSH configuration. And if you want to work with the Ansible, we should have SSH enabled and port 22, and that's a simple thing. We can start working, and it requires some Python packages to read some of the files or all those things. So when you try to install Ansible, it will automatically tries to install your required dependency packages. It's something like you have to run sudo yum install Ansible. So where it will try to install Ansible in your server. So as I have already installed Ansible 2.9.27, it says it's already installed on latest version. So when you run that, it will try to install your um, dependency packages as well on your system. And to install Ansible, you have to remember that it requires Apple repository. So you have to enable Apple release, then only you will be able to install Ansible. That's a basic prerequisite for Ansible installation. And before continuing further to check Ansible, so there is normally you might have heard like Ansible is simple and agentless and powerful configuration, which is used in recent days for configuration management, and it may be used for provisioning as well. And I mean, to provision the servers or so, whatever it's devices or services, we will use Ansible for that. And even it is used in application development, and it is used in continuous delivery and integration process as well. So basically, we will call it as Ansible is used for orchestration. So and it will mainly having like inventory file where we will be writing all our entries, like the file containing your host's information over there. And if by default it will be configured in this path. So if you see here, I have a couple of configurations set up here in my etc Ansible host directory, and that's how this is the inventory file default file is used. And we will be writing some playbooks, like you will be having something like a you can say just nginx .yaml. So our yaml or yml is called the playbook files. Just I have created just to show you that these are the Ansible playbooks which will be used to run our tasks over there instead of running individually. And other than that, you have ad hoc commands which will be used with Ansible commands to run couple of services from your command line instead of using the playbooks. So that's a basic differences to run Ansible. And apart from that, once you have the Ansible playbooks developed, it will be used with a GitHub, and it will be used in Jenkins for and CI/CD process, and also it is used in AWX or Red Hat Ansible Tower for centralized jobs management, where Red Hat Ansible Tower is a licensed one, and AWX is some type of freeware which you can use without the license. So in real time, when you go in production environment or any big organizations who are using this central management, so there you will be seeing this AWX and Red Hat Ansible Tower. So that's the basics of this Ansible configuration. And apart from that, while you are writing some playbooks, you will be using Ansible modules. There are a lot of Ansible modules. Going further, I will explain you about the same in coming sessions while using a couple of modules. And This is the normally by default inventory file. You can remember that this is the default hosts file, which is called default inventory for Ansible. And like you have something like um, the when we say playbook, it will be like a YAML file or YML file we call the playbook, and in that we have something like a play called that complete playbook will be having one play inside that will have some tasks assigned, and then those tasks will be something like executing something, the configuration to run a script or install a package, shut down or restart the service or something like that. So once we start working with the playbooks, I will try to explain them. And to if you want to execute any Ansible playbook, you can just run Ansible hyphen playbook and that playbook name. I know this is empty file. I'm just trying to show you. So it will just try to run a couple of commands over there and see there is nothing in the file. It says empty playbook, nothing to do. So going further, we will try to get that information and work on those playbooks, how to execute and how to run those from one of the Ansible node, which we call as control node. And if you want more help, you can just sorry, it's a spelling mistake in Ansible. That's the reason we are not able to find anything. And you can use hyphen h or hyphen help, which will be used to get the help from Ansible controller node itself. If you are not familiar with any of the options, you can find here something like that. And ask for vault pass. If you want to use the password authentication, you can use that. And like this is when changing files and templates, this will be very useful for you to find the changes. But if you have something like sensitive information, don't use this hyphen d, because that will be going to print the information. Whatever the configuration or the changes is happening, it is going to print on your console. So if you are working with someone in the team or your team, you don't want to share the information, you don't want to show that in any presentations, don't use this diff option, because it will be showing that complete information. And there is something like a dry run as well. We can we will going further, we will see that dry run as well, which what it will be doing is something like it will try to show you that it will uh, try to get the information, try to write the information on the a destination node or client. And while yeah, if you use a dry run, it is not going to write the information over there, and it will be showing that whatever the changes is happening over there and what it exactly going to do. It's something like a plan, it will show over there. So we'll see about that as well while running some of the playbooks. And these are the two things. If you don't have SSH uh, keep configured, you can use hyphen k to ask password, and this is to hyphen become pass. So if you want to use a privileged user, you can use this, and there is a become for privileged escalation options. This is a hyphen ask pass is something, but you can it will prompt for the password while connecting. And while doing the Ansible playbook execution, it was trying to um, get the password prompt over there with this option. So once that is done, once the password is entered, then it will try to configure the changes or whatever it is as per our playbook what we have written. And if you want to become as a sudo user, you can use this privilege escalation options. And this is like if you want to go with the private key files, all those things. I suggest you to configure SSH key based authentication, which will be very useful. It will not ask for any passwords, and you doesn't require to give any credentials in your inventory file or something like that. So that will be very good for us to work with configuration management with a less um, pre-work, something like providing the usernames and passwords, all those things. So that's how we will connect. And basically, the Ansible node is called as control node for all clients. And you might you might hear something like idempotency in Ansible, which is something like, as I mentioned in shell scripting, when you try to do some changes, if the changes are already present or not, that doesn't care. It will try to make the same changes again. But whereas in Ansible, it's going to create the changes only when it's necessary. That means the change is not happened, the configuration file is not updated, then it's going to write the changes, or it's going to change the configurations, all those things in a existing, in the destination server, whether it's existed or not. So that's something different in idempotency, where you will have some safe side to run the playbooks or scripting languages in our Ansible or configuration management in the Linux servers, or even I think now Ansible can be used in Windows as well. There is something like WinRM, something Ansible WinRM. I haven't used that, so but I have gone through a couple of docs in Ansible where you can use it in Windows. So for my session, I'll be continuing in the Linux sessions. Linux, and this is the two clients I will be using. Uh, Ansible will be my control node, and this client will be my um, Ansible client, where I'll be going to connect to this client and run a couple of things over there. So that's the basics of this Ansible, which is required to go further on hands-on. So going further, I will just try to get some practice on this, or some labs on this, so we can start working on that. So as I mentioned, to install any Ansible, start working on Ansible, you require to have Ansible package installed, and Apple release should be enabled for Ansible. Once Ansible package is installed, you can check Ansible version with this command, and it shows the version, Ansible version and configuration. Even if you see here, the configuration file is here, so which contains the complete Ansible default configurations. So that comes with Ansible installation. So this will be the default Ansible installation config file. If you want to make some changes, you can make the changes over here. And that's that's one thing. And configured module search path, it will be like in these two paths, it's going to search for the modules which is trying to run. And as I mentioned, Ansible Python module, it requires a Python 2.7 for this 2.9, which automatically installs while installing the Ansible. So you can see the Python version as 2.7.5. So that's a prerequisites which is required. And as I mentioned, you can, so in this file, if you want to check the defaults, you can just, I will just show you how to check the defaults over here in the default configuration file. You can see these are the defaults which is having. So if you go top, you can see this is the default section. Default section have inventory in hosts and library modules, and then module details as a local. So these are defaults, which is by default will be there. If you want to make any changes, you can make the changes over here. Right now, there is no configurations enabled by default. Whatever the Ansible install, those configurations it's using. So that's about some basics to know before starting our next sessions on Ansible, how to use that. And normally, if you haven't gone through, or if you don't know anything about SSH key based authentication, I made a video in one of my um, previous sessions. I will try to add that SSH key based authentication to this session, this playlist as well. So you can just go through that key based authentication as a prerequisite, and then you can come here, and from the next session, we start working on all uh, all of our next Ansible configuration. So before going further, before ending this session, just try to run me one of the Ansible ad hoc command, which we call uh, ping is used. So I am going to use this Ansible all hyphen m ping, all in the sense it will try to reach all the servers, and it will try to ping those servers, whichever I have mentioned in the um, inventory file. As you see, it tries to connect to so no route to the host, which host it is, kube master, and docker slave 1 Jenkins, and then kube node 1, and then kube node to client to everything, it's failed except client, because I have only powered down the client in my remote location. So I'm just accessing the client through SSH from my laptop and Ansible. So it can only ping to this. It gives a response as pong. So that means that connection is happening successfully. So that's some basics about Ansible prerequisites. So we will start working from next session on this, about some playbooks, writing some playbooks, and all those things. I hope this session is informative for you. And if you have any queries, please do let me know in the comment section. I will try to clarify your doubts as much as possible. And I will see you in my next session. And please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.